It's time for Remodel Revolution. And now, an award-winning contractor with over 40 years experience. Here is Alex Guthrie.
Welcome to another episode of Remodel Revolution. We're coming to you live from the world headquarters of Remodel Revolution, deep in the heart of the great state of Texas, right here in Big D, Dallas, Texas. We have got a fantastic show today. We have our very good friend and friend of the show and becoming a friend of mine, Allison Iantosca of F.H.Perry Builders in Boston, Massachusetts. And right after that, we're going to visit with a local builder, Michael Turner of Classic Urban Homes in Dallas, Texas. And we're talking new homes and new buyers and things like that. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned. About 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I was reading an article in a magazine or on the internet, and it had all of these lady contractors that were getting together for something. And I thought, wow, how cool would it be to start interviewing women in construction and finding out, you know, their challenges and things like that. And so I contacted 3 or 4 of them, and the first one to respond, and I'm really, really thankful that she did, is our first guest today, Allison Iantosca. She is the owner of F.H.Perry Builders in Boston, Massachusetts. Good morning, Allison.
Good morning.
How are you today? How's the weather up there in Boston, Mass?
It is snowing, just as we would hope it would be up here in February.
Well, so you're probably already thinking baseball up there, though, right?
Spring training.
Was it Red? What are you guys? So Red Sox? What are you guys? Huh?
Really? Red Sox.
White
yes.
Sox. Oh, yeah, okay. And so we're thinking. Socks and snowshoes.
Socks and snowshoes. There you go. That could be a whole new trend.
So, and I've been calling this sort of a regional remodelers report. Kind of, I'm not sure if we're coming out of COVID or I'm not sure what's going on. The world is a very crazy place right now for all of us. Kind of give us a brief summary of your feelings of the last maybe 8 or 12 months up in your region and in your industry. Tell us about F.H.Perry first.
Well, we are a remodeling contractor. We don't do any new construction. So the city of Boston treats us really well during most normal times. And I'll try not to keep talking about normal through this conversation.
Is there such a thing?
To keep talking about it. So where the city offers us multiple opportunities to go in. A favorite project, if you picture a typical brownstone in Boston, is to go in and take all the floors out. You walk in the front door, you can look up and see the skylights on the top floor, and then rebuild it for our client that is moving in there. So that's a dream project for us. And
Absolutely.
We had a bunch of those going last March. And the city, Boston and Cambridge both shut down. They shut down construction in the city. So that was a big pivot point, our very first pivot point of awareness that something big was happening here for us. And we've been responding and pedaling ever since. And I'm really proud of where we are now, but I don't think we're quite out of the woods yet. So one foot in front of the other, that's for sure.
Well, of course, we experienced pretty much this similar type thing here. That's when you learn new hobbies. You start taking up those hobbies that you've dreamed about all that time. So Boston came in and just said, no more remodeling.
They did, yeah, no more construction. And it was a challenge because we could have sort of fought our way into being considered an essential service, but as a remodeling contractor, and certainly for the clientele that we like to serve, we felt like it was the prudent thing and the responsible thing to do to take our people off the job sites and not have the trades needing to be on the job sites, just given that we had clients that were living in other places comfortably. And so we just needed to put a pause until we got a better handle on what was happening and what the requirements were going to be.
And how long did that last, or is it over?
It is over. We were allowed to go back in the middle of May. And what was wonderful about that is that it gave us a good opportunity to reset. I mean, you talk about hobbies, but there are so many things that we had in the organization that we wanted to pay attention to, and it gave us time to put little task force groups together to really focus on that, the least of which was setting up a PPE protocol to allow us to make sure that we were going back to the job site safely, while we had no idea what that actually meant.
No, and honestly, I'm not sure that any of us really still have much of a handle. I mean, you do the best you can.
You do the best you can.
But the numbers just, they are what they are at this point. And we've all had to learn to live with it. I thought that was interesting what you said, because I felt like, of course, we're all in shock in, I don't know, March, whenever it really, for us, it was starting around March. And then I looked up a couple of months later and I thought, this is interesting, because we've all had to just kind of step back and take a deep breath. I mean, it's been painful and confusing and all that kind of stuff, but we did the same thing. We just sort of, well, what do we need to do with our organization to come back stronger? Or, nobody knew what was going to happen.
Absolutely. And you really actually began to find out what you were made of. We had an incredibly competent and committed team that when they understood what we were working towards and began to ask them to support us to create something that was bigger than what we were, because we finally had the opportunity to do it. And then they kind of stepped up. And, sort of one of my sidebars on this is that much to the chagrin of my marketing company, who we had on retainer, that was sort of one of the first things that felt like we needed to reset and pivot. And I don't recommend that marketing is something that goes by the wayside at any point in any situation, but if there are other ways to sort of pivot and think about it. And we began an internal marketing task force team that has been brilliant, because they understand who we are as a company.
Right.
And so we've made some real short-term choices on that front. And so that's just an example of a way that we've kind of gotten better for ourselves.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine this morning who's in New Jersey, actually, and we had a conversation about how this digital media, we were all kind of forced into digital media, whether you knew it or not. You were having your meetings there, your meetings with your clients, whoever, and all of a sudden it sort of changed our world, didn't it? And you're right. You sort of could look at it and go, we can do this, we can do that, and what we can maybe convey our core message a little better because we understand it better. That's very interesting, very interesting. Yeah. And that's worked out for you. What kind of response are you getting?
Well, it's been terrific because it's become really grassroots and very much about connection and relationship, because that's what we're all looking for. So how do we create, we just keep creating lots of different swag opportunities. We have more F.H.Perry Builders swag than you could ever imagine, but it's a really wonderful way of putting a little package together and handing it to somebody or sending it to somebody and saying, we're thinking of you. And, here's a Frisbee for Memorial Day weekend. Here's a coffee mug for Labor Day. Yeah. Small things, but just making sure that we're staying connected to people. Coffee cards for the trade partners. We really appreciate you. Thanks for everything you're doing. Just anything that acknowledges where someone might be. That has just paid paid many benefits forward for us.
So your type of remodeling, where you're in these buildings that are what, 200 years old? Are they that old?
Yeah, at least. Yep.
Yeah.
Some. Yep.
And give me give our audience sort of a brief, just kind of a description of what you have to do when you go in an old brownstone, and you kind of have a whole lot of bringing it up to speed. A 200-year-old building, that's quite a challenge.
Yeah, but of course that's what we love, and what
Yeah.
we've gotten really good at. I mean, there are so many different ways that you have to think about it. First of all, of course, there are historic commissions in town that we really respect and want to follow those rules. That's why they're there, and they keep the sort of integrity of the city. And then the next thing, though, are the conversations you have with the clients about how much character do you want to keep in this house. So on Beacon Hill, every single staircase is tilted. That's just the way it goes. Do we want to get this feeling like I mean, it's perfectly safe.
Where you don't have to be a mountain climber to get upstairs.
Well, I mean, it's going to stay steep. There's no doubt about it, but it's steep and tilted. Yeah. So do you want to bring it back? So just different character things like that. A lot of the sort of design trends now are about sticking modern into really traditional settings. So let's keep the big, huge crown molding, but put very modern, contemporary cabinetry in. How do we then level modern, contemporary cabinetry when the entire rest of the house is crooked? Right. So lots of fooling the eye and playing with those different kinds of things. So that's what makes it a lot of fun.
And really, that's what remodeling's about, right? That is sort of what we deal with, regardless of how old the house is. It's making I always tell my clients remodeling is nothing more than taking on a series of challenges and overcoming them, because your house wasn't built to be remodeled. Right. So that's sort of how I feel about it. Do you feel, how is your outlook for 2021?
So what I keep saying is that it looks amazing on paper, and it will be the best year that we will have from a top line revenue standpoint. And then really the big piece will be about making sure that we're securing the bottom line at the same pace and with the same intention. The market is hot. People are really focused on their homes right now. They're in their homes. They want to see their homes change. They know they begin to dream and fantasize about what they want to do. We have figured out enough ways to make people feel safe about us being in their homes or remodeling their homes, or they're thinking about what their next home is going to be. So we're feeling hot, and very happy about that. But like you and I have been talking about, there is still so much unknown. So that's why I keep saying it looks good on paper. And until we're in the house or doing the project, or I should actually even say, well into completion. We had a project that was in demo last year, and they said, we want to move out of the city. We don't want to be in the city anymore. We're going to stop this project. So, and of course I need to keep them happy, because I want to build their house in the suburbs when they find it. So
right.
I had to let that contract go.
You can't scream at them. You can't scream at them, Allison.
Right.
You have to.
Right. No matter what, I guess, huh?
It's always tempting.
Yeah.
But no, the buyer is totally the one thing that's really changed in the last few years that I've noticed, regardless of what we've had to deal with COVID and all the other things we've been dealing with, is that the buyers have changed. I think there's environmental changes, such as the pandemic and things like that, are driving it now. But what really started driving it, I believe, was the internet. And but it's an interesting thing that you just said, because there's a lot of people that are doing second homes, or instead of flying across the world, they're going, we'll just go buy some land outside of the city so we can just get out of here.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting that you say that. So in our market, the biggest thing that I've noticed, one of the qualifying questions we used to have is this your forever home? Are you going to stay here and raise your family here, and then modify the home as you get older? And that was always a way we sort of understood whether or not we had found a client that was going to really value our process and our craft and our stewardship and all those different pieces. I don't think we use that question anymore. People are making decisions in really different ways, and especially now with the pandemic, this awareness of how quickly life can change. But even pre-pandemic, you just never knew when you were going to move off to a new location because of a job or a family move or another choice. So the way people are buying has definitely shifted in what they're prioritizing inside the home, inside the remodel, and the sort of things that they want to do. And so we've really had to pivot our way of responding to what the needs are so that we can make sure that we're delivering a product and a process that people are comfortable with.
That's very interesting. Actually, I think that is the absolute right question I should ask and I normally do. Of course, one of the first questions I ask them is this your last house, or is this just another house? And a lot of people will call you and try to pre-qualify that. And they'll go, this isn't the house we're going to stay in forever, so we don't want to spend the most money. And you go, okay, which room do you want to do?
Exactly. Well, there's also a real adjustment as to how people are buying, I think, and I'm going to have to figure out how to pivot because it's so personal. We always want to be in front of the client, talking to the client right out of the gate. But I think there's going to be sort of this whole movement towards, how do I send an email on a Saturday and myself as a client, as a buyer, qualify whether or not I even want to continue on in conversation with this builder? That is not how we have ever done things, but I think we need to be able to be mindful of what's coming down the road that way, even for high-end clientele, even for people who are wanting to be in their forever home. We've just all gotten so used to the ease of the internet and making that cold connection a little warmer before we actually dive into the human connection.
Yeah, it's been a very challenging adjustment for a lot of, particularly those of us that have been doing this for many, many years. and remodeling is such a personal thing. You know, for me, it's very personal.
Very personal. Because
I fall in love with the house, and most of the time I kind of fall in love with the people I'm working for. I mean, it's very important to me how all of that works together. And now I can interview somebody, and I know you're the same way. When you're talking to a potential client, you're kind of interviewing them as well. That's what you were just telling us. And sometimes they never look you in the eye. They're busy looking at their phone. You're like, wow, things have changed.
It's amazing how things have changed. Yeah. And the sort of interruptive patterns that they're willing to take around that.
Well, and you're now on call 24/7, and just in case you didn't know that.
Oh, is that what's happening?
That's the real problem.
I'm tired, right?
Right. That's when you learn to use the do not disturb feature of your phone.
Yeah, but it's a huge thing. And certainly as an employer, it's a huge thing of how to help people manage that, for sure.
I'm so glad you were able to make time for us today, and I'm so glad that you're having such a great rebound out of this. We seem to be in our area having a similar type thing for the most part.
Good.
And it seems like we're all kind of waiting for the next shoe to drop. And I hope we can get to where we can just be comfortable with what we have, but it has been just a wild ride this year.
It sure has.
Allison Iantosca, owner of F.H.Perry Builders in Boston, Massachusetts, has been our guest. Thank you, Allison. It's always great to have you, and I look forward to our next conversation. Thank you so much.
You bet. Me too. Thank you so much.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have our second segment. It's going to be so much fun. But first, before we take this break, I want to ask you to go to YouTube, to Remodel Revolution, and subscribe and follow. Also, follow us on Facebook, and check out our podcast. We broadcast it from Spreaker, but you can get it anywhere. It's on all of the major sites. And also go to Texas Weather Tracker TV on the internet. It's an internet weather show. You can catch us Sundays at 1 and 3 on your Apple, Roku, and a couple of other TVs. I can't remember Android and something else. Anyway, check us out there. Check out Texas Weather Tracker TV. Become a follower, and you'll get a daily weather update. And we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have Michael Turner with Classic Urban Homes. Imagine this, a totally customized, organized, and beautiful master closet. A home office that fits right into a perfect space. A pantry designed specifically for your storage needs. Imagine your home totally organized. It's time to call the design professionals at Closets by Design DFW and turn your dreams into a reality. With a design staff over 30 strong, Closets by Design works directly with you to create your dream space, and they build it locally, helping support the DFW community. Check them out at dallas.closetsbydesign.com or call them at 972-361-0010. Use the promo code RRV to find out about the amazing specials and discounts available. That's dallas.closetsbydesign.com or call them at 972-361-0010, and don't forget that promo code RRV, Closets by Design. Hey, you need to check out my friends at Total Air and Heat. They have been in business in Dallas for almost 65 years. Steve Lawton is the second generation, and his son Justin is the third generation, and I think they've got the fourth generation sweeping up the warehouse right now. Check out our friends at Total Air and Heat if you're in Richardson, North Dallas, Plano. They are a fantastic company. They are carrying Carrier air conditioning, and you can reach them at totalair.com. Call them and set up an appointment to get your air conditioning serviced and checked out. Before you know it, it's going to be summer. And don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait till it's 90 degrees outside. Go out there right now. Make an appointment to have someone come out and check out your system so that when you need it, it's working right. Total Air and Heat. Totalair.com. Well, as we keep saying, it has been a wild, wild year. And I've been interviewing builders and remodelers around the country to sort of get a feel for the overall picture of how maybe business will look in 2021 or how people are feeling about it. And one of the guys I really, really enjoy in Dallas, and he's a fixture in Dallas, Michael Turner, Classic Urban Builders, has been in business for a long time. He started out in the trades and then built his home building business from there. He has been the president of the Dallas Builders Association. He's very active in the community, and I'm so glad to have him here today. Good morning, Mr. Turner. How are you?
Alex, I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me here today.
That's great. That's great. I told you, I think the theme of this interview was going to be the new urban buyer. And it was interesting that I just did an interview with Allison Iantosca in Boston, and we kind of had that conversation a little bit, how buyers have changed in the last few years. What are you experiencing in your new home business?
Yeah, I'd say they're definitely a lot more savvy than they've ever been. With the age of the internet, they can do lots of research, and they can become professional buyers.
That's a nice way to put it.
when they come to you. So the type of product that I build, and kind of being a building science guy, I like it when they ask the questions about what's behind the walls, and and claddings and how do you waterproof this. So it really kind of caters to what we do and what we're after. But yeah, I would say overall, boy, they're a lot more savvy than they've ever been, and they like a lot more detail. They like you to get them pricing on a lot of different products before they start. So it's definitely it's definitely not as easy as it once was. I mean, it was never easy, right?
Yeah.
But it's definitely
it's always been a job.
It's always been a job.
Right.
And now it's yeah, there's a lot more detail to it, and it's, you know, like we were talking before, is, you know, you're asking me if I'm busy, and, you know, busy. Yeah, I mean, we're all busy. It doesn't always mean you have like a bunch of projects going, but it just means the projects you got are pretty intense. A lot of details going on. And
You say you have to spend a whole lot of time on them now. One of the things that the internet has done for us, and really sort of the whole thing we've been dealing with the last few years, and I really believe the internet is a huge driver in all of this for the same reason you said. These people are able to go on and spend all day looking at stuff, or looking at a show that someone else has done, and boy, would that look great. Hey, Michael, I want this bizarre thing on my living room wall. Can you do that? Sure. Sure, I could do it. But the amount of information that we all have just pounding in our ears, in our eyes every day is just stunning. It's stunning. It's information overload. And you end up chasing rabbits in lots of holes before you ever get to where it's harder to make a decision, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and that's where being an experienced builder, having done this for many years, you know, you try to take a client in the beginning and go, look, you know, you can get overwhelmed with the information out there. You know, we try to have them pre-select as much of the finish out of the house as we possibly can. And I tell them, you know, when you make that decision, you know, close the book on that, go find something else to occupy your time. And, you know, because if you start second guessing yourself, it becomes a very daunting project. You know, you get a lot of confusion. You get material ordered, and then you decide, well, we don't want to do that, and then you're reordering restocking.
It's like getting on your computer, and I know everybody does it. Like, you sit in front of the TV in your favorite chair, and you put your laptop in your lap, and you just start diddling around on your computer, and you never stop anywhere. You just keep looking.
No, you're
all these
down
things,
rabbit holes.
Well, I'm telling you, man, you're just like a little bunny. And and so you're right. It's hard to focus on a single thing, and that particularly in how many parts are there to a house, right?
Yeah, a bunch of them.
Yeah. And so every room, every bathroom, every bedroom, the kitchen, whatever, the outside.
Yeah.
And there's all these options. And it's super hard to just get laser focused on that one thing and then stop.
Yeah, that's the thing. As I try to tell them is get focused, make the selection. Okay, focus on your kitchen. Focus on the appliances that you want in your kitchen.
Right.
Focus on the type of fixtures in the shower, in the tiles. But once you make those decisions, you know, feel comfortable about them, close the book on them, and move on to something else.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to do, and it's hard to convey. And I know that we're basically on call 24/7 now. And so one of the things that you and I have had to adjust to, and I'm interested to get your input on this, is communicating with your clients, because you're in town. So you're dealing with a lot of younger people as your client base.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of flipped. You know, it's to the point now where a lot of my clientele is younger than I am, and you know, their number way of communicating is obviously through text,
Right.
And they think that's an instant access to, you know, you. And what I usually try to tell them on the front end is like, hey, we prefer emails because it's easier for me to track. It's easier for me to sit in front of a computer. The text is bigger.
Forward it. Yeah, right. I could actually read it.
Yeah.
I could forward it to someone else to
Exactly.
respond
Yeah,
to, or,
yeah.
or a bunch of people. Or,
Correct. Yeah. Let's use texting for, hey, I'm running 2
But
minutes
you
late
know,
to that meeting.
here's the thing.
or-
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. They know how to do it all.
Yes.
Right. And you and I are going, okay, I just figured out how to do the texting where I can send it to 2 people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And now, you know,
Yeah.
and it goes on and on. It
Yeah.
goes on and on.
Well, and I think it's you just kind of set proper expectations in the beginning, and you just explain to them, hey, this is the way we operate. This is how we conduct business. We're there for you. We'll help you. You know, but you just kind of set some parameters and some guidelines, and you know, you learn that. Try not to respond to emails at 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night, because if you do, then it becomes the expected way to communicate. So you still got to run it like a business.
I tell them never text me after they've had their first glass of wine. that it's off limits.
Or you've had your first beer, right?
Yeah,
so
well,
whichever it
first
is.
cold
So,
beer.
yeah.
First cold beer. Michael likes to brew. He's a Brewster. How is your let's talk about the last 6 months. How has all this craziness affected your company?
Man, it has been, you just couldn't script this. I mean, it's the craziest thing. Obviously, when we went through, when COVID first started, thank God here in Dallas, we were deemed essential, so we were able to keep working. During that time, I was rebuilding or building new several homes that were tornado victims. People I'd built houses over the last 6-7 years that were right in Tornado Alley. And, there was that fear there for a while that we were going to be shut down, and these people were going to be displaced even longer. So,
I mean, that is a hard project.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked at a couple of them as well, and it's emotional enough when you're doing it because you want to do.
Yeah.
I have a couple of ways I talk to people about, are you doing this because you want to do it, or are you doing it because you have to do it? Mm-hmm. It's a total different approach to the project and a whole different mindset. And, if you're doing it because you want to do it, you're going to be a little more patient. You're going to be a little more flexible. You're going to, be a little happier when it's good, and maybe not quite so mad when it's not good. It's just part of it. But when you're having to do it,
Yeah.
it's like having a tooth pulled.
Yeah. Well, and these are all homes that I'd built over the years. So, these, not only are they my clients, but a lot of them are personal friends. So, when they call you and go, hey, can you please help us get our house put back together? You feel obligated to take care of those people, and, you go to battle for them and try to get it done. And, and that was the other thing too, is, I didn't have a lot of experience dealing with insurance companies.
Oh boy.
And I found out they were all not created equally.
No, they're not. They're not. Yeah. No, they're not.
Yeah.
That is a whole different part of the challenge. A rebuild of a storm damaged home or fire or whatever it is just a whole new beast for those of us that don't do it every day.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing now. It's like with clients, as we're getting towards the end of the build, I'll be vocal and go, hey, when you're shopping for your homeowners insurance, let me just give you my experience that I've had in the last year.
Who not to call.
And who not to call. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's good. Actually, that's the advice they ought to be giving. It's great advice, because a lot of them don't realize that, I talked to one insurance guy I know, and he goes, well, the husband will call me up because he wants to go get a new bass boat.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to get that insurance payment down, man. I got to get that monthly bass boat payment out of it. And he goes, well, okay, but we're not going to put a new roof on your house when the tornado hits.
You're going to pay for it on the back end.
So you have to, as a homeowner, whether you or me or any homeowner, we have to make smart decisions, especially when you live in Tornado Alley.
Yeah.
You have to expect to have to, at some point, maybe need it.
Well, and I think that, I think it was probably 3 or 4 months of that. I think I was on your show. We were talking about homes and valuation and things like that. And, there's a lot of people that were underinsured. Material, just building costs, year over year escalation in cost, and you don't factor that into your insurance, and you're insured at the same value that your house was built. 10 years later, man, you are upside down.
You're in a
You gotta
whole new
rebuild that
world.
place.
Whole new world.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so speaking of that, that's a great segue into.
I tried to do that.
Into you're amazing. You're amazing, considering we've never met before. Material cost. Boy, that's become a big challenge for new home builders like you.
Yeah, that's got more movement than GameStop.
Yeah.
Right now. So.
Buy GameStop or buy plywood.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's just crazy. I mean, we'll all run into the big box stores from time to time, picking stuff up for job sites for personal use, and OSB is probably one of the most widely used, commodities on the job site.
Tell us what OSB is.
Okay, OSB is oriented strand board. That is a plywood type product. You'll hear it referred to as chipboard, but that's what you'll see. All homes are pretty much decked in that stuff.
It's holding your house together.
It's holding your house together. It's really, really good stuff as long as you don't get it wet. So just getting it wet is not good. But in a normal building time, that stuff's anywhere from $6 to $8 a sheet. And it's $32 to $35 a sheet now if you can find it.
If you can find it.
I mean, just material framing, the lumber cost has probably had the largest impact that we've seen. It's really tough when you're bidding jobs now. Normally you could bid a job and it may take you 3, 4, 5 months for that project to get started, and you felt pretty comfortable kind of locking those numbers in, maybe putting a little bit of escalation price in there. But now it's like when I'm bidding a job for somebody, I go, hey, look, this lumber lock is for 10 days. That's as long as I can lock it in.
And I talked to a friend of ours recently who got caught up in that stuff. He wasn't ready for it, and his lumber bill came in $20,000 higher than he had bid it.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how you guys deal with that. I don't have that volume, but I'm working on a house, and we did a change order, and we had to, buy lumber and stuff. And the owner was like, "Oh my gosh." And I go, "It's not the labor.
Yeah.
It's the $25 tuba 6 that's 10 feet long."
Right.
and the 100 of them I had to buy.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's the problem. And I'm just hoping it doesn't start having a negative effect on our projects or our volume of projects because of the cost. That's my concern.
In as much, that's probably the biggest one as far as a cost driver, but the other things are just material shortages. There's certain things that, an electrician ready to start a job the other day, and he goes, hey, we're going to be a couple days delayed on that roof because I can't get single gang boxes. The supply houses are all out. Just crazy stuff. Hinges for doors. Shortages on
these
on
little
those.
things
just
that
little things
normally
that
you walk in and get.
You just never even think twice about. Are kind of becoming the hiccup in the chain.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some challenges out there. I mean,
well, and I've noticed ordering windows and things like that, where I may have been used to a 3 or 4 week window. Not no pun intended.
Of course, it would have been a good one.
Yeah.
Just say it.
It's because I'm brilliant.
Have we ever met?
No.
Yeah.
Who are you? Anyway, we're now looking at 6 or 8. We're looking at double the time to get certain things, and of course we went through a period last year where if it came from China, we don't know when you're going to get it.
Yeah.
Unless it's in Walmart.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's, all of our, we go through that. You want to buy American, right? You want to buy American and put as many American made products in your home, but then we're dealing with, COVID shutdowns and these manufacturing plants and whatnot.
I want to buy American and all that. I really do. I wish we could do that, but we are in a different economy, and we have been for many years, and we are not accustomed to spending that kind of money. It just doesn't work. And so certain things, of course, we want to buy American, but everyday stuff, you couldn't afford to buy American.
No, you can't.
You couldn't do it.
Your disposable
it's sad, but true. So we are what we are.
We are.
We are.
It's a global economy.
Walmart generation, baby. How has the COVID thing impact, or has it still impacting your business any, or your workmen?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of become the new norm now. You know, obviously, you know, we were all learning this together, right?
Right.
You know, the Dallas Builders Association did a great job of trying to kind of, you know, get the word out and kind of, you know, help us with, you know, PPP products on the job site, and just, you know, it's crazy. I mean, it's like, you know, everybody's wearing masks. You got to have hand sanitizer on the jobs now. You got to have wash stations. No, not multiple crews on the job site at the same time. You know, but it's I guess, you know, we were grateful that we're still open and we're able to do that. You know, when you look at like some other industries and you know, how they've been decimated by it.
Right.
It's, you know, you're kind of pinching yourself, because we've almost seen we have seen an uptick, you know, in new home construction and new home, you know, remodel. People are spending more time.
And your projections for 2021 for your business, how's that looking for you?
I mean, I think it's looking good. I mean, there's, you know, the phone's ringing, you know, houses now are becoming the office as well. You know, we've got a couple houses in design right now that have, you know, 2 home offices in them. I think that's going to become the norm.
And a schoolroom.
A
classroom.
Well, the schoolroom's always been there. It's the kitchen table, right? So that's always been there.
That's
but
right.
yeah, definitely 2. You know, with the couples, they want 2 work from home spots. You know, I think that there's going to be a lot of companies that realize that you know, we don't need as much office space as long as we can be productive and people can work from home.
It's been an amazing, rapid change in society the last year, and it's directly reflected in our business because we're dealing at such a personal level with people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing, is when you're meeting clients out on job site, and you know, and you've got the mask on, and you can't shake hands with your clients.
I still don't know what any of my
anymore.
clients look like.
Right.
I'm like, man, you got nice eyes. Oh yeah, it's a guy with the green eyes over there.
Right. Well, some of us we don't have to shave anymore, right?
No.
Just covered up with a mask.
Yeah, that's right. A little deodorant, you're good to go.
You're good to go. Yeah. It's a weird world out there.
Yeah.
So you just got to adapt and keep moving.
And I sure appreciate you coming and spending time with us this morning. It's really been great.
Oh, I enjoy it.
And I hope your business takes off like a rocket and you're just too busy to do this again. But if not, we will do it again, because I
Awesome.
enjoy having you here so much.
Thank you, sir. I
Thank
enjoyed it
you
as well.
so much. Michael Turner with Classic Urban Homes in Dallas. You should, if you're thinking about building a house, give this guy a call. He is really, really a fine builder. And if you enjoy this show, go to YouTube and like us and subscribe and follow and do all the wonderful things that you can do. Go to Facebook and like us and follow us and say hi. Send us any kind of questions that you have on YouTube or Facebook. I'm interested to know your thoughts on the show, as long as they're nice. And also, make sure and check out our podcast. Our podcast is really getting a lot of traffic right now. It's on Spreaker, but you can get it on any of your podcast sites. It's Remodel Revolution. And thank you so much. And until next week, this is Alex Guthrie. Have a wonderful week.
The views and opinions of this program are for educational and entertainment purposes only and are not intended to replace the recommendations of a hired professional. You can catch Remodel Revolution anytime. Follow the show on the website, remodelrevolutionradio.com, or on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, using the handle @Remodel Revolution Radio. You can always listen to the show on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and TuneIn, and watch the show anytime on YouTube.